There is a story in ProPublica. A third woman died under Texas's abortion ban. Doctors are avoiding the DNC procedure, which is a dilation and curettage, apparently a common procedure for first trimester miscarriages and abortion. But they are avoiding this and using other riskier techniques because they don't want to be charged with aborting a child in contravance to a Texas on abortions. And I mean, this is indicative, and I imagine there's much more than 3 women who have been died, even in Texas. There's also now reports coming out of Texas. This is according to a new poll. 21% of OBGYNs in Texas are said they are either considering leaving the state or already planning to do so. 13% had decided to retire early. These are OBGYNs. These are the implications of your bans with so-called exceptions. The exceptions never work.
And that's just a horrible development because there's already hospital and doctor deserts in the reddest parts of our country, the most rural areas of our country. And this is just going to exacerbate that problem for all other care. For all other care, specifically women's care, right? Because OBGYNs, just got to tell you, for all the freaks out there, they don't just, execute babies after they come out of the womb. They also provide a bunch of different kinds of health care for women like myself and for people who can get pregnant.
And I should also say it's curettage. Thank you, Jay Tingle, not curettage. And I imagine this dynamic that's happening in Texas with OBGYNs is happening around the country. So I tried to explain this to Tim Pool when I was in his facility. I guess it was a couple of weeks ago now. And here is me walking through this with him. Because we know that, there's always a danger of a woman dying in childbirth. And it's above 0. So we're...
Oh, come on.
No.
We're trying to be reasonable, right? We want to solve the problem. We don't want to just say,
What's the problem?
There are conservatives who believe that if the baby is, well, for many, I don't even believe in IVF because even a fertilized, embryo.
Let me also just be clear here, too. Tim Pool's whole game, at least up until this interview, and it became problematic for him because he realized, oh, wait, my whole audience is conservative. I've mentioned this before, but before I was even out of the seat and about to leave, he looked at me and goes, they're mad at me. And I didn't want to stick around for sush or poker. I actually had to get home because my mother was at that time passing away. But he looked at me and goes, they're mad at me. And I'm like, who's mad at you? I thought he was talking about his producers because we went so long. And he goes, my audience. They felt I agreed with you too much. And this is the way that Tim functions. He realizes he doesn't have to do any work or know any depth about what he's talking about as long as it keeps him in his good graces of the audience he's built. And I think he was a little surprised to realize, oh, my audience is more conservative. Because, frankly, I don't think Tim has been forced to articulate what he actually believes, which is vacuous. And so when he is forced, he usually just capitulates. And here he is knowing, the one thing he knows is there's people in my audience who are really against abortion. Mm-hmm. So I've got to try and split the baby in half, as it were, forgive the pun. And
denying, by the way, maternal mortality, which is higher in this country than most other high-income countries. Right. As of 2022, 22 maternal deaths for every 100,000 births in the U.S. That's not an insignificant number. And those are much more likely among women of color in particular.
So here we go.
I want to just say,
what's the problem?
There are conservatives who believe that if the baby is, well, for many, I don't even believe in IVF because even a fertilized, embryo is life.
What's the problem? I understand that there are religious people who don't like what I do, but what's the problem?
The death of a baby.
Well, I would contend that we're talking about the death of a fetus. And
So the issue is whether someone determines personhood or not is a legal constitutional question that needs to be answered. For instance, in Civil War, they didn't think black people were humans who had civil rights, and that's clearly a psychotic way to view the world. But you holding the view that an unborn child is or is not an individual who holds a view, whether they are or not, is an unanswered question at the Supreme Court level that I believe sooner or later will be answered. And they may make a determination that the unborn are persons who are.
What do you think?
Man, that's tough. I tend to be traditionally pro-choice. I think that when you have...
do you think there should be restrictions on abortion?
100%.
What should those restrictions be?
Time limit for sure, but I don't know. I'm not smart enough to give you a certain amount of time.
But here's the problem: is that when in practice, that time limit ends up killing women.
Well, you've got a dying baby or a dying woman, and we're trying to figure out how to save them both.
Well, I mean, one is
are if the baby can survive, why kill it?
So you're saying viability.
So yeah, viability is huge, and medical technology is rapidly expanding that. But there's still a lot of questions in how we handle it. So my position is that the government can't mandate one person provide their body to another person. However, if a person provides consent in the initial phase, now they have an obligation for a certain time period. So
if you have sex and you get pregnant, you are obligated to carry that baby to term. Is that what you're saying?
I think that I'd be in favor of abortion up to a certain point.
Well, but what's the? I don't understand. See, this is how slippery he is. Every time he says something like, "I think if you give consent, then you bought in." Okay, so wait a second. You're saying that if you have sex, then you get it. Well, actually, you get a pass up to a certain point in terms of like he's back on viability again. You can see he's dancing around here because he doesn't want to answer this question. Now, it's also very possible. There are two reasons why he doesn't want to answer this question. One is because he's afraid whatever his answer is going to piss off his audience. And the other is he just hasn't thought about it very much. And I actually think that when you're talking about Tim Pool, the second answer is usually a much better explanation for just about anything. But continue here.
I think that I'd be in favor of abortion up to a certain point.
Well, but I don't understand what the logic is there.
Logic is compromise.
Oh, so this is just a question of splitting the baby in half, literally.
Oh, not literally splitting the baby in half. It is, can the government tell someone you must provide your body and blood to another person?
And you say they can
so
up to a certain point.
The questions of consent play a role in whether you allow someone and then have an obligation to them based on the requirement. So, for instance, like rape, I 100% exception. Health of the mother.
Okay.
100%
so
exception.
let's take rape.
Yeah. The woman can choose.
Okay. What establishes rape?
When a person does not consent.
Okay. How rape is a criminal term, right?
Indeed.
So you need to go through the court case.
Perhaps.
What do you mean perhaps?
Well,
like, can I come in and say I was raped and that's it? All I need to do is say I was raped.
Nope.
Okay, so you need to have a court case.
No, I didn't say that either. There would have to be some degree of.
Well, you keep telling me what you're not saying, but why don't you just say what you're saying? How do you establish?
No, you got to calm down.
No, well, how do you establish if rape has taken place or not?
So there's rape kits, right? And we can check for abrasions, and a woman who was raped certainly would want to get a rape kit done, I'd imagine.
Well, okay, first of all,
but if you're asking,
we know for a fact
if you're asking
that hold on, we know for a fact that a lot of women, pause it for 1 second, don't. So, as late as I'm just one. All you got to do is Google rape kits. In 2022, at least 25,000 untested rape kits sat in law enforcement agencies and crime labs around the country. This figure accounts for data reported only by 30 states. The total backlog number is unknown. So he's making all of this up about the rape kits. He's making all of this up about the rape kits. And of course, we should also say that a rape kit is not definitive. Otherwise, like there wouldn't be trials.
The Fauci, they want doctors to be empowered to determine who are rapists.
Apparently, but RAINN, which is the Rape Abuse Incest National Network, estimates that for every 1,000 rapes, Only 384 reported to police, 57 result in arrest, and 11 are referred for prosecution, 7 result in the felony conviction, 6 result in incarceration. So even with like the existing structure of rape reporting, without the added burden of having to get that conviction in time that would satisfy this time frame to get an abortion, it is a single-digit percentage in terms of rape conviction rates.
All right, so here's Tim. His whole theory about how we should provide exceptions for rape is built upon it's something he's just completely made up.
Get done, I'd imagine.
Well, okay, first of all,
but if you're asking,
we know for a fact
if you're asking
that hold on, we know for a fact that a lot of women, don't seek rape kits for whatever reason because they're afraid to. Okay, so if you don't get a rape kit,
we have responsibilities to ourselves and to others, and sometimes those choices are very difficult to make.
So just the existence of a rape kit will establish that rape has happened. Why do we need court cases to establish that rape has happened?
I didn't say we did. I said no.
Okay, so
a medical professional who assesses that a rape has occurred, I believe, is
what if they go in
largely
too many days after to get a rape kit?
And then there's no evidence of a rape taking place?
Yeah.
That would be a restriction.
Okay, so who makes that adjudication?
If a rape took place?
Yeah.
The person administering the rape kit.
So we would put rape kit people who are administering this and look at the evidence. And do you think it's just like completely binary? Do you think like when you get a rape kit, like this person has definitely been raped or this person has definitely not been raped?
I think that we're dealing with something outside of the simplicity of I can go to court, it takes 6 months to a year to figure something out, which means there's a compromise. How can we come to the best determination to make sure that women are not lying, which I assume would be exceedingly rare, and we're actually going after the criminals? I do not think it's fair to put the burden on someone to perform an abortion without actually taking the responsibility of yourself and saying, look, victims have responsibilities, and it's unfortunate that they're victims, but we're trying our best.
So if you don't go, so let's say, for instance, like, I don't know if you've ever, and spent any time exploring the psychological and the sort of like social pressures on people to report rape. But you're basically saying that if you don't go and get a rape kit, it's contingent upon the police department to assess this rape kit. If you go too late,
is that who's administering the rape kit?
Yeah,
it's not a doctor.
No, they may have medical things.
I was talking about a doctor. She goes to the doctor. She says, "I've been raped." They do a kit, and they say, "Okay," and then she says, "I would not want to."
He has no idea what he's talking about. You go to the hospital, and if you say I've been raped, they perform a rape kit and they send it to the police as a piece of evidence that goes in the case, where then the rapist has to be convicted based on a very high standard that is called reasonable doubt in this country. Okay, that's the process.
I will say that in this instance, like I think I disassociated, but I also think that like I don't know if in the moment I realized just like, oh my God, this guy has absolutely zero. Like I should have even gone like even more basic premise with this stuff. Like I should have said, what is a rape kit to you?
Also, what if she's 15? What if it's her father?
Well, exactly.
Like, I mean,
exactly.
Anyway. But right. you nailed him here. It worked out.
A doctor, she goes to the doctor, she says, I've been raped. They do a kit and they say, okay. And then she says, I would not want to have a pregnancy from this.
Now,
say,
do you honestly, like, do you know how this works? It's not like it's preponderance of the evidence. I mean, it's like, so you're basically saying the doctor gets to decide.
I am. You don't think doctors should be able to decide to give a woman an abortion?
No, I think doctors can decide. Well, I think doctors are responsible.
This is a compromise. I'm pro-choice, but I recognize that we're not going to live in a society where one side's demanding an extreme, the other side's demanding the other. So you
think the rule should be if you get a
doctor makes
rape kit? What if it's somebody?
We're talking about edge cases. I mean, I don't know why you're getting so much into the edge cases.
Pause it for a second. I mean, let's be clear about edge cases. The number of times that this guy has talked about women's sports and trans people, when you talk about like edge cases, we have now 3 women dead in Texas that we know of from the Texas abortion ban. There is no like light that shines on top of someone who's been raped. There's no light that shines like, now I'm in the danger area. I have 45% chance of dying if you do not administer an abortion for me now. None of this exists. He's just making it up. He's never wrestled with any of these ideas. I mean, even the most like basic. Yeah, I take on a daily basis. I take trips to the bathroom that are longer than he's spent thinking about this ever in his entire life.
1 in 5 women in the United States have reported that they've either been raped or there was an attempt at rape, by the perpetrator in their lifetime. So it's not an edge case. And I would also imagine that now that we have a little bit more education about consent, basically literally everyone I know has experienced a gray area sexual encounter that includes potentially rape when they were too drunk or incapacitated or didn't want it. So that would creep up a little bit more high, but although maybe it wouldn't meet Tim Pool's standard, but in terms of non-consent, it certainly meets those people's standards that I know.
You think the rule should be if you get a
doctor makes
rape case? What if it's somebody?
We're talking about edge cases. I mean, I don't know why you're getting so much into the edge cases.
Well, I mean,
how often does this even happen?
How often do people go in and get an abortion at 8.5 months because they feel like it?
That's my point.
Yeah, very, very few.
Right. So why are you bringing it up?
Well, because the people who you would create restrictions are going to
exceedingly rare and not even an issue.
So then why would we have any restrictions whatsoever?
Because what do you mean? So that babies at 8 months don't have their lives ended?
Well, I mean, what if there are reasons for it?
That's then requiring adjudication. But it's so exceedingly rare. You're arguing an edge case for a dramatic change in policy.
But
I'm not. I'm saying
not a dramatic change in policy. There, I think, like
it's kind of wild that I'm like women should be able to get abortions, but you're like, yes, but in these exceedingly rare circumstances, we should remove all restrictions because sometimes.
Excuse me. I think there's 10 states at least. I know you can look this up where there are no restrictions.
I agree. Yeah.
So it's not. This is not some type of like radical change of policy. It exists.
No, this is recent. After the end of Roe v. Wade, these are the restrictions that these changes started happening across the board.
I mean, I can understand that.
Do you agree with those states removing restrictions?
Like I say, yes, because I think
that's not Roe v. Wade. That's the end of Roe v.
Oh, I said at least go back to Roe v. Wade.
But didn't Roe v. Wade have a provision on viability? There was an additional case that people don't bring up. That was in the 90s.
The Casey.
Is that what it was? There was a question about viability and whether or not you can end the life.
The court said in Casey it just changed the date in which, I should say the week in which states could then begin to impose restrictions on that right to get an abortion.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think these sort of restrictions end up killing
the overturning of Roe and Casey resulted in states removing restrictions.
Correct. Wait, I'm sorry, say that again?
The overturning of Roe v. Wade created the legal precedents by which states could begin to remove restrictions.
No. They could. I think they could have done that prior to that. I think they could have done that prior to that.
So the question ultimately is, I'm not going to come down as the supreme judge and just say like
pause
it must
1
be.
second. I should just say that my mental state at this point, we're 2.5 hours into this, and the ability of this guy to avoid the actual conversation that's taking place at any given moment is fascinating me at this point. It is definitely a superpower, and I'm trying to figure out okay, how can I get him to actually answer the question? At one point, he's like, oh, you're getting too emotional. Then he says, well, why are we even discussing this? It's an edge case. But, these are real people's lives. Yeah. Real people die because of these. And he doesn't want to deal with it because where the rubber meets the road for his hypotheticals and his theoreticals and his notion of compromise, where he can avoid actually taking a position and not offending his right-wing audience. That's why he's avoiding this. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not going to come down as the supreme judge and just say like it must be, the right is wrong. I say, and I've told Republicans this, if I was a woman that got raped and you told me I had to have a baby, I'd blow my brains out. Like there is no fucking way you will tell me that I'm going to, by force, without my consent, give my body to somebody.
You are telling that that woman who got raped.
There is some degree of responsibility.
You have to announce this. you
Yes.
need to follow certain procedures as a victim of a crime, and if you don't, we're going to force you to carry that child to term.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
There is a responsibility we have as victims of crimes as well. And one of the problems we have in this country is that,
That's an interesting theory.
well, it's true. Right? If you're a victim and you want accountability and justice, you
Well,
you have
what
to go
if
to court.
what if you make the determination that I don't want to go through what is involved with getting accountability and justice, but I also don't want to carry my rapist child? In that scenario, the woman is out of luck, according to you.
If you are not willing to take your responsibilities,
The responsibilities that
Of victims.
that the rapist has imposed upon you.
indeed, yes.
Okay, so this is what do you call this? The Rapist and Power Act?
I suppose you'd say that liberals have a view that they have no responsibilities at all. That there is no
I don't feel
requirements.
like I have a responsibility. I certainly don't feel that if I was
you're not
someone
making
who
an
could be, I am making an
The
argument.
Rapist Responsibility Act is an emotional nonsense.
No, it isn't. It's
We're talking
it
about a
is-
person's responsibility to society.
that is exactly what you're
No,
suggesting.
it's drama
is tantamount.
nonsense.
No, it's not drama
it's
nonsense.
prop clipping.
No, it is not.
Yes, you are. Come on.
Dude,
You're not
I don't
making
give
an
a
argument.
This is now. I in retrospect, I wish I had the ability to go like say like. It's fascinating because I find this right now like fascinating how desperately he realizes his back is against the wall. He has nowhere to go with this, and so he takes exception to my saying the Rape Empowerment Act, which in fact it really is, because he's decided in his tiny brain
Hamster wheel brain.
that there is some, and I've never heard this theory before, but there is a responsibility. If you are a victim of a crime, you have now been imposed responsibilities by the murderer, I guess. If someone in your family is murdered, then you as a family, you now have a responsibility that's been imposed upon you by the murderer. If you have been subject to a crime of any sort, you now have responsibilities, duties, which incidentally, duties in our society are the sort of inverse of rights. Mm-hmm. Someone has a right, then other people have a duty to observe that right. So he's almost saying that like crime is a right at this point. But the idea that a rape victim has now been imposed a responsibility
That stands between them and a medical procedure.
And to be clear also, I mean, aside from the complete impracticality and the theoretical nature of someone being able to get to fulfill this responsibility that the rapist has given them in a timely fashion as to get an abortion under the rules that Tim has set up, just the concept itself is completely odious. And this is where I do start getting angry,
Well,
because he's completely getting he's being incredibly obtuse. He's trying to change the subject. I mean, he's in full panic mode, and he's smart about this because he realizes he has nowhere to go, so he's going to make
He
it.
says
about
you're getting angry before you actually get angry, though, if you notice that.
Right, because this was also when I went on, when he got upset about like that book, right? Where essentially that's when he started to get upset when I said, I'm not the pedophile groomer or putting kids in harm's way. In fact, teaching children about sexual abuse prevents them from getting abused. That's what triggered him, was the rape empowerment thing, because for his audience,
Yes.
he's been talking to them, these QAnon basically adjacent folks who are obsessed with the idea of pedophiles and groomers in the Democratic Party. And you have now exposed his complete lack of sincerity on protecting anybody whatsoever. And
100%.
so that's when he gets emotional. He tries to say, you're getting emotional, which was I was trying not to be narcissistic about this, but someone pointed to me on Twitter, like he was trying to do the reverse of when I got him upset and making it into this viral moment, but you'd already pinned him into this logical corner.
With regard to the thing you said about groomers, he has had Jim Jordan in his studio. Go ahead, Bradley.
The Rapist Responsibility Act is an emotional nonsense.
No, it isn't. It's
We're talking
it
about a
is-
person's responsibility to
no,
society.
that is exactly what you're
No,
suggesting.
it's drama
is
nonsense.
tantamount. No, it's not drama
it's
nonsense.
prop clipping.
No, it is not.
Yes, you are. Come on,
Dude,
You're not
I
making
don't
an
give a
argument.
shit about-
Make an argument. Don't say nonsense
The
words like
argument
rape.
is that what you are suggesting
Is
is
that-
that a woman who is raped has a responsibility that has been bestowed upon them by the rapist. The rapist has chosen you. If I shoot you in the face, I have caused you I have imparted upon you a responsibility. What you're talking about is fascistic. It is
Sam, do you think
disgusting.
that if someone commits a crime against you,
And so I'm sorry I said Rape Empowerment Act and tried to do it in a more satirical way.
But what
you're talking about
logic
is
centers are
disgusting.
shutting down.
And listen, no.
You're getting overly emotional.
No, I'm not.
You are not speaking logically anymore.
No. What you're
when
doing
a victim
is
of a crime, when
you
a person
are
is
doing
a
what you
victim of a
always
crime,
do.
they have
You're
to file
trying
paperwork to
pretend
get
like you
accountability.
can find something in here, but
You're
it
not
is
talking about the argument
absolutely
anymore.
nonsense. Yes, it is.
You are no longer
I've
talking about the issue
because
nor the law.
everybody sees. Oh, I am.
You are getting
definitely
overly
talking
emotional.
about it. I don't.
You're talking about my person. You're doing ad hominems. You've lost it.
No. Here's
Sam,
the point.
let's start with
You're
the law.
so full of crap.
You see,
It's
here you go.
amazing.
You can't even make an argument anymore, can you?
I don't need to because
You don't need
everybody
to
who's
make
watched this.
arguments.
No. Everybody who's watched this knows that
watching you have an emotional
you're
breakdown on
saying that a rape victim has a responsibility that has been bestowed upon them by the rapist. It's gross. It's disgusting.
You are having an emotional breakdown right now.
I'm not having an emotional breakdown right now.
Do you think the police
I'm
should
getting
be? Oh, you want to wait?
because I'm thinking of my daughter.
Here we go.
I'm thinking of my daughter.
Here it is.
And I'm thinking of the idea that a
Sam.
rapist could force her to do something that
spiraling.
No,
You're
I'm not
spiraling.
No.
You're spiraling.
Tim,
You're not even stopping talking
because you just
You're not
found
even stopping
out
talking.
You never
You're
think out anything that you
we're gonna say something.
and
We're
You're
gonna talk, or are you gonna
I
keep just talking about
faced
nonsense?
You in front of all of your
Are you
audience.
gonna wait for your prop
You
clipping?
rapist
Your prop clipping,
empowerment
Sam.
act.
Your prop clipping.
I don't even know what that means.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. You're
What does
prop
it mean?
clipping again.
What is prop
We're
clipping?
not arguing abortion anymore.
What is prop clipping?
You said, Tim, you're full of crap. You're not arguing abortion anymore. You
Because
disgust me. Oh, rape, blah, blah. You stopped
You're
arguing.
saying
you
that a
stopped
rapist-
arguing and you started doing performative garbage for the camera.
No, I'm
You
not
want to
doing
have a
garbage.
discussion, Sam?
Dude, the best part of this
you want to have a discussion,
was
or are you going to keep
tying
talking?
you in knots about
You
the
wanna have a
idea
discussion?
that a rapist can force a woman.
Here you go again.
in-
Here you go again. You're making things up.
I'm reiterating.
Prop clipping.
I am reiterating.
You're prop clipping.
I am
Sam,
reiterating your.
You're getting
position.
overly emotional. You're getting heated. You're finger pointing. You're throwing slurs and name calling. You're
What's
full
the
of
slur?
Well, forgive me. You're so full of crap. You disgust me. But that's
Dude,
not an
honestly,
argument. You want to have
I
a
gotta
discussion?
be honest with you.
You want to have a discussion, or you're gonna have an emotional breakdown?
You know what? I am going to continue with the so-called emotional breakdown because honestly, I think
That's right.
No, I honestly.
Let's solve our problems by Sam
I
just
honestly-
freaking out and having emotional breakdowns on camera.
I honestly think that like
Come on,
what you
Sam.
do is so damaging.
Oh no!
And this
Here he goes.
whole notion that you
broke.
would allow
It took 2 hours
for
and 40
race-
minutes for you to break.
Yeah,
You
this
broke.
whole
Sam,
why are you keeping
broke.
me from talking?
Because you haven't
If
let
you
me talk
think
one
I'm-
time.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Victims of crimes who want accountability have responsibilities.
What if they don't want accountability? What if they don't want to put themselves on the stand and have to point
They
out
don't get accountability.
that guy? Okay, but they have to carry the baby, right? According to you,
If they don't want accountability, then this is
then they have to carry the baby.
This is real.
Say it.
A woman.
Say it. If they
I will say it
don't
as
want
plainly as
accountability,
I can say
they
it
have to
100%.
carry that rapist baby.
If a woman does not want accountability for her rape, she will carry that baby.
She has to.
She has to, yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, up to 15 weeks.
That's the prop clip I want right
Up
there.
to 15 weeks.
There you go. I still don't know what that is, but I assume
used it
that's what he
wrong.
was talking about.
Yeah, he meant like clip chimping, I think, not prop clipping.
Whatever, but like the way that as soon as you approach something tangible, he gets so panicked, right? Because it's all like everything that he does, especially when he has like those fresh and fit guys on, and he's so incel adjacent, although in his case, who knows if it's adjacent.
He's pursuing his family.
Yeah, any day now. But like, you know, they have to walk that really fine line where women are both there to be sex objects and then subject of your resent if they are not giving you the sex that you are crafting yourself and your personality to pursue. But if you cross that line a little bit until full objectification where Now, say apparently the 16-year-old girl who may have been raped by her father, if she doesn't want to break up her family or like have to go through telling her mother that, hey, dad raped me right off the bat, it's apparently imposed upon her that she has to give birth. But when you point that out, the practical realities of what all of this like this fence sitting and this pontificating really boils down to, that's an existential threat. Because like the only way that this guy's channel continues is if we continue to obscure the reality and we talk about World War III or the Civil War or whatever hyperbolic stuff he wants to put on as like garnish to make it seem like the shit that he's peddling out has some sort of underlying substance. Because when substance he's confronted with it, he has a hysterical freak out and has to make sure that you don't talk anymore.
Yeah. Want to move on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can move on. Although it's starting to occur to me that maybe it would be fun to take the other clips where he basically agrees with me and see if that doesn't poison his audience.
That might be fun too, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just make one point on the DNC? Like, I know I'm from North Dakota. Any Tim Pool fans? I've actually talked to women in red states, many of them pro-choice, many of them pro-life. I know somebody who went from the pro-life side of things. She grew up religious, grew up very early wanting to be a mother, had a miscarriage, which 10 to 20% of pregnancies end in a miscarriage, and had to have that DNC. And understood from that point on that her medical procedures would have been vastly more complicated if she got what she wanted when she was younger and abortion was outlawed. So like that, this is a fringe case. Like you said, like it is actually, the cases that you hear about are not people finding them. It's the ones that actually get to the surface that we hear about. And there's a whole bunch that are going to be submerged that we don't, where people's their medical procedures are, the doctors moved out of state. Or they're worried about getting sued. Like it's a real thing here. And it's really awful that little freak is talking to so many young men and saying all this stuff doesn't matter. But look at that kid trying to play, hockey.
Jody from Chicago, since your Tim Pool debate, I have scoured the archives of National Geographic for any material featuring a disgruntled man with a beanie and came up short. Any idea what Tim meant when he said he had a National Geographic contract? My guess is that he was commissioned to shoot some footage, and he used that as a claim to obscure the fact that he has had other deals with people he didn't want to talk about. That was what I got there, but I wasn't going to spend the whole time doing that. Marty Mouse, have you seen that Mexico's president would impose retaliatory tariffs in response to Trump's plan? I mean, yeah, this is probably this is to be expected.
That's my president.
Go Scheinbaum.
Yeah.
Noel from San Francisco. One is astounded how you're able to play such a shrewd, careeristic move in the bouts of an irrational state of hysteria.
I know.
I got those prop clips. It's like comes second nature for me.
That is a funny contradiction. You're both losing your mind and also being very strategic and mercenary.
Yes.
I think it might have been Tim who was projecting the emotional meltdown.
But I mean, if that's the kind of talk that stands for like intellectual discourse on the right, no wonder Trump got reelected.
Well, I mean, there is a reason why they don't want to be. I mean, and I should reiterate, like, there's an open invitation, and maybe we should make a more specific one. Tim to come on the program, Steven Crowder,
reciprocate,
Dave Rubin, Charlie Kirk if he wants to come on.
He might be gearing up for a run for governor.
Is that right?
I thought we'd heard that rumor. I thought you were around for that.
In Arizona?
Yeah, that's the scuttlebutt. Even though Kari Lake lost again. Like, I know Trump won the state, but that was a national trend.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.